Alright guys, welcome back to my channel, ManojWeb, where my goal is to make your front-end life easier. In today's video, we're going to be having a look at creating this glowing effect when you hover on this button. So as you can see, when I hover on this is a glowing effect, and that's why we're going to be doing this today. Alright, so let's get started right away. Let's see here, why is that doing that? Alright, so in order to begin, we'll first have a container div, which will actually have the background, and we'll have a button inside of it, which will just say, click me. Alright, so that could be it. That's pretty much it for HTML. So let's start off by styling the body itself. So let's make it a display of flex. Let's give it a margin of 0, padding of 0, background color. I have this color stored right here. We'll see. Alright. Yeah, just like a light purple. Background color. Yes, I was going to do flex direction, column, justify, content, center, align items, center, and a min height of 100 vertical height. Now I should put the button in the center. That's pretty much it for body. Let's start on the container right now. Well, no, first let's do the button because that's gonna be the main thing. Sorry, my health is not all that good. So font size, let's start off giving it a big font size like 3 rem. Let's give it a background color of none, a border of none, or transparent, I guess. Yes, what else did I have? So we could, yeah, font family, that's not really all that important, but let's give it a Times New Roman. And then sans serif to fall back on. Alright, so right now we have a really bland button. Let's give it a back, like as you saw in the example. So I'll pull up the example if you can see this. Well, I guess not, but so in the example, the text had a background color of gradient, which I've talked about in a previous video, and I'll do it again over here. So I have a color of transparent, background of linear, gradient, I believe going to right from white to red. And then I had a WebKit, background clip of text. Then I'll just copy this and Moz too. It's just a good habit to get into, so I'm doing it, though it's not necessary. Alright, so I've got background clip of text. Now let's go to the container and give that a background.container. So let's see what background give that. I just give it a background color of purple. I gave it a padding, I believe. Well, no, not this. I gave it padding on the button itself, so it doesn't look odd, I guess. So background color of purple and border none. That's all I had. Let's give this a padding of like 20 and 10. Padding 20 pixels, 10 pixels. So I believe that was the padding. Yes, that was the padding. That's pretty much it for the basic setting. And now we can actually start coding the glowing effect on it. So let's get started on that. So let's continue. Right now we just have the basic button with just some basic styling. Now I'm going to add hover effects. When you hover on it, it has a glowing effect. So first, let's start off with the button. So when you hover on the button, what do you want to happen? First of all, well, the main thing that's going to happen is it's going to get a text shadow, which is how you add the glowing effect itself. So text shadow, if you don't know about the property, is you can basically add a shadow. So you can take in a few properties. The first is the X offset. So where the shadow is going to be relative to the X. So if I put like a 2 pixel, 0 pixel, and let's say this other ones you don't need to worry about right now. So as you can see, there's a blue, when I hover on it, there's a blue line 2 pixels to the right. If I were to change that to 10 or 20 pixels, as you can see, it's 20 pixels more to the right. You can also have it on the left using negative 20 pixels. Now it's on the left. This other one is a Y, so if I add that at 20 pixels, as you can see, it moves down as well. And of course, I can do the same with the negative sign, and it moves up. So those are the offsets. The other value, let me change these back to 2 pixels. Actually, let's keep it at 20 pixels, so you can actually see it. This third value is a blur. So how much it should blur, I believe. So I can say, give it a 10 pixel of blur. If I hover on it, as you can see, it's blurred quite a bit. If I lower that to 5 pixels, as you can see, it's blurred less. So if I were to change it to like a really high value, like 20 pixels though, it's really unreadable. So that's how the text shadow property works. Usually you want to use 0, 0 on it, as you can see. Well, not 20 pixels though. Like let's say 5 pixels. Now as you can see, it looks fine. The last one is the color, by the way. If I were to do this now, as you can see, it has kind of a glowing effect on it. But that's not enough, because that doesn't really look like a good enough glowing effect. So we can also add more than one text shadow. So after the white, we also want another one which is blurred 10 pixels, which is going to be violet. So if I were to hover over it now, you can see it looks a bit more like glowing, right? Because I have a more blurred violet. If I were to add another one, which was a 15 pixel blurred red, guess what happens? Now it's even better. So if I were to get rid of red, it looks like this. If I had the red, it looks like this. As you can see, it looks a lot better, and you can add more and more colors to make it better based on your design. So I don't know, like dark red, I'm not sure. Takes in dark red. It doesn't really matter, but what if I say black? At the end, it has like this black, really light black shadow because it's 20 pixels. If I were to do 10 pixels, that would be more visible. Well, I guess it's being covered by the white, the violet. So let's get rid of that. That's how you had a glowing effect on the text. That's pretty much it. And then for the background glowing effect, here's what you would do. The dot container hovers and says the same thing pretty much. You could give that a box shadow, which is the same thing as a text shadow, but instead of applying on the text, it applies on the box instead. So you could give it a box shadow of this box shadow is going to be quite long as well, because we're going to apply a lot of box shadows to give it a glowing effect. But before that, we need to get rid of the background when you hover on it. Background none. And let's see what it looks like right now. When I hover on it, it just disappears and it starts glowing. Then I give it a box shadow of inset, which means it's going to be on the inside, which is one of the properties. 0, 0, like offset, and a 50 pixel blur of the color white. If I were to just do this, you can see it already looks pretty cool, right? So that's what that inset does. If I were to add on to it another inset of 20 pixels to the right, 0 pixels like moving down or up, and then an 80 pixel blur of red, watch what happens. See, That's a red glowing effect. So you can continuously add colors onto this to make it look better. So like a negative 20 pixels on the left instead of on the right. 0, 80 pixels of a different color like yellow, let's say, which is what I use in the other one. Now watch. Oh, now it's on the outside as well. So let me add all the colors. This one on the inside. Well, the reason it's now I know the reason why it's on the outside because I didn't add the inside. Inside is important if you want it to be on the inside. Now, as you can see, it's on the inside and it looks pretty cool. So we also want an inset of 20 pixels, 0, 300 pixels of red, which looks like this. And then an inset of 20 pixels, or negative 20 pixels, because we want this to be the yellow one. 0, 300 pixels of yellow, basically the opposite of the red. And as you can see, it already looks pretty cool right now. But there's still more we can add. We can also add like a normal on the outside, so you don't add any inset or right outset. It'll just normally add on the outside if you don't add anything. We want one on the outside, which is a 100 pixel blur of white. You want one more on the outside, which is like to the left. It doesn't move up or down, and a 120 pixel blur of red, and then the opposite of a yellow. I know it's a really long box shadow line, but in the end, this is what it looks like. Kind of like a sun shape. But that's still not exactly what I had in the preview, did I? Because the reason for that is because on the preview I had transitions as well. The transition I've talked about in a previous video is like, I'll just show it because it's a lot easier to explain when you show it. Let's do 250 milliseconds. Now, as you can see, the background fades away. So if I were to make that 1000 milliseconds, so 1 whole second, it fades away. Transition basically makes something fade away or like move as an animation. It's a tool used to animate. So we can add transition on the background, and on the button we can add a transition on the background as well, like text shadow. Linear 500 milliseconds. I'm not sure if you make that 250 milliseconds. And also make that 250 milliseconds. Let me check if there's any extra that I added. It doesn't look like it. Other than the background, box shadow. Oh yes, yeah, that's pretty much it actually. Because I'm not adding a box shadow or anything else. I can also you can also add comma and add multiple transition. So I add a transition of box shadow as well, linear 250 milliseconds. Let's have a look. That's the final result. Isn't that pretty cool? You can also change the colors to suit to your style. That's pretty much it. Today's video, we created this glowing effect by using text shadows and box shadow. And I hope you learned something new. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and like button, and see you next time.